Welcome to a special tribute to one of the life and career of the late Craig Breen. Tragically, Craig was taken from us far too soon in a crash which left the motorsport community in mourning. Known for his heart-on-sleeve approach, Craig left an indelible mark on the world of rallying. Today we'll be speaking with those who knew him personally, sharing stories and memories that celebrate Craig's character, both on and off the stages. We will discuss his passion and the legacy he leaves behind. First up, I'm joined by our rally man, Tom Howard, who had the job of paying tribute with the words online at Autosport.com in the magazine as well. I think you did a fabulous job, Tom. And our special guest is a renowned figure in the world of rallying, and that is Kris Meeke, with an impressive career spanning well over 2 decades, multiple WRC wins, a true ambassador of the sport and a true friend of Craig's. Kris will undoubtedly provide a unique and heartfelt perspective. Thank you both for coming on today. Kris, first of all, can you tell me about this week, because you've been to Craig's funeral, and a little bit about how this week has been for you?
What can I say? For me personally, everyone deals with these things in their own way. I think firstly we have to say thoughts are still with Craig's family. It's still so raw. It's so soon. When something like this happens, completely unexpected, out of the blue, it just takes you so long to process. Death comes in various forms, whether it be a long illness or whatever. But on this type of shock incident, my thoughts are still with the family. So. For me personally, I was back in Ireland for 2 weeks on holiday. I'm still living in Andorra, but I was back in Ireland for 2 weeks with my family. When we got the call, Paul Nagel actually called me last Thursday morning, and we just broke down on the phone. I was on the road. I was driving at the time. I just stopped on the side of the road. I think I was there for over an hour. I just didn't have the heart to drive on or do anything. When you get something like that, it's just hard to process. So, like I say, everyone's still in shock. I was at the family home on what day is today? The funeral was Tuesday. I was at the family home on Monday afternoon, and then we were at the funeral yesterday. Obviously, that was broadcasted live. And you've seen the thousands that attended in person, and countless tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, watched it online. So it's still, like I say, it's still hard to take in.
When we talked about making something for the channel, we didn't know when to do it, whether it's too soon, it's too raw. What can you say? But if we leave it too long, people will wonder why we're not saying anything. So I don't know if we got the timing right or not, but we would certainly love to try and celebrate Craig. Can you tell me, Kris, a little bit about, even if you remember your first encounter with him and the impression that he made on you?
First encounter, I think it goes back a long way. The rally community is a very small community. You're talking maybe mechanics, engineers, everyone, all the teams. I'm talking World Championship, European Championship. It's maybe 300-400 people. So over my 20 years in the sport, you see people on a weekend and you just bump into them and you say hi and you go on about your personal life and you come back to rally and they're there. So I honestly don't remember the first time I met Craig. It was probably in a Park Fermi on a Rally GB or something, and he was doing it in a Fiesta R2 Junior World Championship. Like I said to you guys, I'm definitely not the boffin on motorsport like Craig was. I think there's nobody in the World Championship, bar Jari Matti Latvala. I think if you put Jari and Craig in a room together, they would have talked for days. But I'm very bad with dates and place and things. So I think it was Craig won the Junior World Championship, was it 2011? Am I right? Was it when I was in the mini WRC?
I believe so, yeah. Because he won the SWRC title, didn't he?
Yes, that's right. So I remember, we had finished the stage and we were all on the radios waiting to see if Craig come behind and if he tied up the championship, But yeah, I'm sure it was back 2007, 6, 7 or somewhere along those lines we met. But he was just a ball of energy, and just so right through to the recent times, he's just, the passion never ever left him, So yeah, he was just a ball of energy, and everything was just about driving a car. He just lived for driving a rally car. and that never changed. And I think he showed that all the ways through his career. Even last year, when things weren't going so well with him in M Sport, he just wore his heart completely on his sleeve, you know. And I think it's not common to see that, you know. We all have our egos, we all have to deal with it in our own ways, and I sometimes try to cover up a bit my emotions, you know, because you don't want to lay everything out, but Craig just lay everything out there, and I think that side of his personality is what touched everybody, you know, because everybody goes through lives, they have their own struggles or whatever in their personal life, but Craig just conveyed his emotion as it was, and people just said, okay, that's a guy competing at the top of his game and he's able to do that. Maybe they felt that in their everyday life, and I think that's why he was so much liked and loved, and people could relate to it, you know. But it's not often in the game of World Championship status sport where someone just has that raw emotion just laid out there at every stage interview, you know. You could sense Craig's, whether in a good stage time or bad stage time, man, you didn't have to look at the timing board. You could know by Craig's reaction where he was.
Tom, we looked forward to the microphone being shoved into the driver's window every time he had something to say, and he never let us down. Tom, how would you describe Craig's driving style, though? He did plenty of talking, but he did a lot of talking behind the wheel. What made it so unique? His talent and his driving.
That's a good question. I mean, his driving style, as you said, like we've talked about his heart and sleeve approach, but we mustn't forget he was a supreme driver. Like, he was absolutely brilliant. I know there's a lot been made about how he's, you know, relatable to the fans and that side of things, but he was absolutely a supreme rally driver. And not only that, he was, you know, as we said, he's this ultimate rally fan that's sort of just turned out to be an excellent driver as well. So it's just been he was very attacking, and right until, you know, you look at Sweden, his last WRC rally, possibly his best ever drive. It was absolutely brilliant, to the point where, you know, only unfortunately he slipped away at the end there into second, but his approach was just, I want to get in the car, I want to go as fast as possible, and I want to prove everyone why I should be here. And he did that time and time again. Obviously, you know, 2022 was a difficult year for him, but it was so nice to see. Now, what was his last WRC rally, that he sort of finished on a high and delivered that performance that we always knew and have seen, you know, time and time again, 2019 and 2020 and 2021, that he can deliver.
I'm going to ask you both now for just, there's so many stories you've both got and experiences and highlights, but I'm going to ask you both to share just one thing that sticks out in your mind as a memory that showed his passion for rallying. Kris, I'll start with you. What's something that really sticks in your mind about something that happened or a story that you heard?
For me, it has to be on the podium, Rally Finland, when I got my victory in 2016. Craig was right on my heels, and he was just this young whippersnapper who came on the scene in the WRC in the top tier. And I think he finished within a minute or a minute 20 of where I was. I had done maybe 8 Rally Finlands by that time. I'd finished in the podium the year before, or in 2014, and you know, I was up for winning that year. But this young kid came along. He beat Ogier, he beat Tamak, he beat Mikkelsen, he beat Padden, and he was driving just carefree, you know. And when Craig felt happy and comfortable, boom, he was one of the fastest guys in the World Championship, you know. And we've seen that in Sweden, as Tom rightly said. For me, that was possibly one of his best performances. For me, the one that stands out for me was his first podium in Rally Finland, because that was the last time Unemployed was ran at full length. It was, you know, before they started adding in all these chicanes. For me, it still stands out as the last real good Rally Finland, you know. I'm running a 33k Unemployed. Craig was just on it from the get-go, and he was just loving it. And you've seen his emotion that carried through at the end of that stage. And, you know, maybe if this was in your questions, but that emotion he carried with him we have to remember, you know, Jaffa, who was taken in an accident with Craig, and this is what makes it so devastating for everyone, you know. What Craig had to go through on that weekend in Sicily and carry on. He paid tribute everywhere he went, he always carried the memory of Jaff in his car, and to think under similar circumstances something that's happened to Craig is so incredibly hard to take in, but like I said, he carried his emotion with him, but when Craig was happy, he was one of the fastest guys on the planet.
Tom, how about you?
I think it's a difficult one for us, as a journalist. He made my job so much easier because, every interview was such a pleasure. It would always raise a smile. I even like sort of thinking back to my sort of final interview with him in Sweden. I asked him like, why have you gelled so well with this Hyundai? And he just quick as a flash came out, I've got some Viking blood in me. That's why I'm going fast in Sweden. And it's just stuff like that, because as a journalist, I've been doing this for a long time and in many different championships. You need that. You need that sort of humour and comedy to raise a smile on difficult days. And he was able to do that. Like, you just enjoyed talking to him every time because you knew that there's going to be something that's going to make you smile. And that's what I think I will enjoy the most. There's just the comedy. I mean, for me, that interview in Sardinia last year, I think I spat my drink out when I heard it because it was so funny. Like the giggling pin falling out the laughing shaft, but it's all right, we're okay. It's just extraordinary. Like you just don't get that from other people or drivers. And I've been doing this long enough to know, hand on heart, say he was different. Like I've spoken to a lot of drivers, but no one was able to make me laugh like he did. And I think for me, like, don't get me wrong, his driving was supreme, but for me personally, like, I don't think I'm going to find another person that will make me smile like that when trying to do an interview.
Yeah. Kris, you've talked about Craig's perseverance and the adversity that he faced and the setbacks in his career as well. But how do you think things like that inspire those around him and fans of the sport as well?
The way Craig handled it inspired everybody, There's not too many people on this planet could deal with it the way Craig did. And you can't knock anybody. Everybody is born differently. They're born and they're developed through their younger years, whatever emotions they carry with them, and whether they're an emotional person or not. But if something ever like that happened, I don't know how I would react. But Craig carried himself and the memory of Jaffa so well throughout his career, and he obviously used it to drive him further, and he found his way to the top level of the sport and achieving a second place in Sweden. And how many podiums did he have? 9 podiums in his short career at the World Championship. I don't know if that number is correct, but there's other people who would have retired on the spot and never driven again, and you would have to pay respect to whoever made that decision also. But in the way Craig handled it, and he carried Jaff's memory, it was a credit to and a credit to his family, the way they brought him up to be able to carry himself in that manner. So motorsport throws these things at us. The FAA have made so many big step forwards in terms of safety over the last 15 years. It used to be deaths happened a little bit more often, shall I say, and I don't want to be morbid on that, but now they're so infrequent. The shock is just even more when it happens, but it's still so hard to take when something like this happens. But what can I say? Craig just handled himself beautifully over all his career and his life. People just loved him for what he was, and what can I say?
Well, you guys are the heroes that we love to watch, and as you say, safety's come on so much that the drivers seem invincible now. So when this happens, it is a shock. And of course, motorsport does continue. The team have consulted heavily, I believe, with his family and decided on what to do as we go racing this weekend. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about what's being done this weekend to honour Craig?
Yeah, obviously it was always going to be difficult to know what the right move is from Hyundai moving forward for this, but they've put out a statement and they've had a lot of discussions with Breen's family, and let's not forget the co-driver James Fulton and all this as well, because He's a part of this incident as well. That's obviously he's feeling all kinds of emotions, I'd imagine, at this point. So, but the family was sort of adamant that the rally should go on and Hyundai should carry on, and so they've fielded 2 cars for Thierry Neuville and Nesta Lappi, the full-time drivers. But they've put a lovely livery on the cars, which is paying tribute to Craig Breen and the Irish tricolour. It looks fantastic. I hope it continues all year. It's such a lovely livery. All the teams are running black stickers in memory of Craig on the cars, which is a really nice touch. And tomorrow, the entire service park will congregate for a special photo to be taken in memory of Craig, which I think will be quite a poignant moment. So it's a really odd feeling here. I'm not sure anyone's really comfortable, but I think this is probably what he would have wanted. He would have wanted the competition to carry on.
Kris, what lessons do you think that future rally drivers, any young drivers, any children growing up that want to be in motorsport, that anyone who's an enthusiast of the sport, who just enjoys watching for the entertainment, what do you think people like that can take from the life and career of Craig?
I think, number one, you have to look at all the drivers in any form of motorsport, or any sport for that matter, that take the risks they do to perform. Yes, it's a manufacturer-backed championship. You're driving a product to market that for a manufacturer. Ultimately, the manufacturer trying to create an image of fun and bravery and skill. But the drivers and co-drivers in those cars are the ones ultimately taking the risks, and I see it so much and too often these days. Drivers criticised for maybe making a mistake here or doing something where not everyone's a Sebastian Ogier or Sebastian Loeb, but that people should take into account the amount of effort and skill and what they put on the line to do this job. It is beyond question something that 99.999% of people would never even choose or want to do. They can all sit in their armchair and say, we'd love to do that and do that, but actually when you're in there and the pressure's on to do it, every single driver and co-driver deserves a respect. Whatever the result, whatever on a Sunday afternoon, whatever's happened. So I think people need to look at it and just appreciate what they're witnessing here, because in life now, so many things are getting nullified and they're looking to take the risk factor out of everything, and life's about living, and sometimes the closer you are to the edge, that's when you feel free. And it's very difficult to explain that to a person who's cocooned in their little world. But for a driver, if there was no risk, the reward wouldn't be there. It's a dangerous sport. There's other dangerous sports, the Isle of Man, TT, Formula One, NASCAR, they all carry their elements of risk, but especially in rally, what we do through the public roads, over icy mountain passes, Monte Carlo, through the forest in Finland, the twisty, rocky, mountainous terrain in Corsica, all these elements, every day we wake up, we're passionate about what we do, and we want to do it. So, like I say, anyone watching, I think they need to take a back seat from maybe the criticizing all the time. I know you're in the public eye and people have their opinions, but just respect what everyone's offering to you. It's a show to behold, and let's enjoy it.
Absolutely, it's one of the things we'll take away from the incredible entertainment that Craig gave us, because we all sat back in our armchairs and watched it. Well, the ones of us that watch it from home on the live stream and watched it, and just it's easy to forget. Well, it's not actually, because rallying is one sport. When you watch the onboard, it's hard to forget what it's like. It's unlike some other forms of motorsport. It genuinely looks quick and dangerous, and Craig's live will teach us all to just live life to the full and really appreciate what these guys and girls are doing. Tom, before we go, a difficult weekend, but you are covering rally for us. Rally continues to race this weekend. It's going to be a difficult weekend, but do you think we'll be able to make that that beginning of that journey from sadness to celebration of Craig's life. It's going to be a long road.
I hope so. It's difficult to say. You know, everyone, as you said, the feeling here is very subdued, and rightly so, because you know it's been a horrible few days. You know, for everyone. You know, and just think about the family as well. It must be absolutely horrific. And I would like to say thanks to the family for live streaming that funeral, because that was something else. And I think we're all, you know, we should all say thanks for that, because they didn't have to do that. Like, that was something that they gave to everyone so that we could all enjoy Craig sort of one last time. So that was you know, very memorable. And I'd also like to say thanks to Kris for his tribute on Instagram. Those were beautifully written. So I'd like to say thanks for sharing that with everyone, because I think you captured everything there. But yeah, I think, yeah, as I say, it's a difficult weekend. We've got to try and focus on the rallying, which is difficult, but and let's hope we get a good rally, and let's hope we have a nice battle for the win. And if we can have anything like we did last year with the final stage showdown between Callie and Oitz, that would be lovely. But I think I'm probably asking a bit too much there.
Can I just say on that, you know, that there's one kid that would have demanded the show went on, is Craig Breen, you know, and he would love 52 rallies a year in the World Championship, you know. He would be up there now, desperate for everyone to go out and enjoy themselves, you know. We've been seeing so many clips, and they were played at the funeral yesterday. It was, you know, we're all standing there with tears coming down our cheeks. The pure enjoyment Craig got out of driving a rally car. So, like I say, we have to give credit to every one of those competing crews taking part in Croatia this weekend. It's so easy to turn your back and say no, but they're going out there to continue what Craig loved to do. And yeah, look, rallying will continue, but we'll always carry Craig's memory, you know. And like I say, all credit to everyone on the start line of Croatia. Like they will put on a show, and I'm sure they'll pay their respects at the same time in their own way.
So just one last thing I'd like to say that we didn't touch on, and I think is an important issue, is that Craig, like, really, like, as we've talked about his love of rally, but he's very, very keen for the next generation, and he was giving his financial support to the local championship in Ireland, which I guess keeps that legacy alive. I mean, not you know, not everyone does that, and that just shows how much love he had for the sport, that he wanted to see the next generation succeed as well, like he had done. So for him to do that off his own bat, I think that was a very lovely touch, and I hope that the people benefiting from that financial support this year really take it to heart.
Yeah, and it was financial support he was doing for the next generation, because, you know, times are tough in motorsport when you're working your way up, and Craig was there as a helping hand, pulling people up to bring them onto the next rung of that ladder, which was an amazing thing to do. He said that he felt he was at a stage in his career when he wanted to start giving back, and that's a nice way to end. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Two wonderful tributes from both of you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching, by the way. And if you do want to leave a comment below on the video with your own thoughts about Craig, your enjoyment watching him, maybe even met him or something, like got his autograph or got a selfie or something, and just something that means a lot to you, we'll read all of those comments below. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.